I saw someone staring at me from the second-story barn window. The problem is, my barn doesn't have a second story. I've lived on this farm my whole life. My father built the barn with his own hands back in the 70s. One floor, a hayloft, a single row of windows along the ground level. That's Italiano. So when I looked up one evening and saw a pale face staring down at me from a window that shouldn't exist, my blood ran cold. It was late autumn. The air sharpened my lungs. The fields nothing but back silhouettes. I had just finished feeding the horses when I felt that prickling on the back of my neck. I turned. Nothing. Just the whisper of wind through bare branches. Then I looked up. A face pressed against the glass of a window that wasn't there. Pale skin, dark eyes, a mouth frozen open like it was mid. I blinked. Gone. The window gone too. Just blank siding. That night, I barely slept, and in the morning, I found something worse. Beneath the wall where I'd seen the face, the dirt was disturbed, and in the frost, faint but clear bare human footprints. I didn't tell anyone. What could I say? That my barn had grown a window overnight? But the barn didn't let me forget. The next night, the horses were restless, their eyes rolled white, ears pinned back, staring at the rafters. Then I heard it, a creak. From overhead, the barn has no second floor, just open beams. But the sound was unmistakable footsteps. I raised the lantern. Empty rafters. Dust. Cobwebs. Then another creak, and a shadow moved across the far wall. Long, thin, like someone was walking above me. The horses screamed, the lantern flickered, and then, from the rafters, a whisper, my name. Daniel. I bolted. Locked the farmhouse door, sat awake till dawn. But in the morning, the impossible was waiting. On the barn wall where I'd seen the face was a window, real glass. Old, warped, as if it had always been there. I touched the glass. It was ice cold. Something moved behind it, a pale blur. Then the face appeared again, pressed against the glass, eyes hollow, mouth open. I dropped the lantern. When I looked back, the face was gone, but the window remained. That night, I heard it again. Footsteps in the rafters, the horses screaming. I stormed out with a shotgun. The window glowed faintly, lit from within. I yanked the barn doors open, and there it was. A figure, crouched in the rafters where no floor existed. Limbs too long, body twisted, face stretched into a grin. It scuttled along the beams like an insect, never breaking eye contact. I fired. The blast echoed. Splinters flew, but the figure was gone. And then beyond me, the window glowed, the face pressed against it. Its mouth opened wider, wider, until it was nothing but a black void. And in my own voice, it whispered, "Daniel, let me in." The lantern shattered. Darkness swallowed the barn. The window glowed faintly above me. The face pressed harder, the wood groaning as if the wall itself was straining. Then silence. The glow faded. The window was gone. By morning, the siding was solid. No cracks, no glass, but in the dirt beneath the wall were footprints. Bare, human, leading from the barn straight to my porch. I don't know what I saw. I don't know what lives in the rafters of my barn. But every night, when the sun goes down, I lock the doors tight, and I never look up at the walls. Because one night, the window will be there again. And this time, it won't just be staring. That was the night I learned sometimes. The walls of a place remember things that were never built. And sometimes, They want you to join them. The first time I heard my name whispered from the bottom of the well, I thought it was the wind. The second time, I remembered the well had been sealed for decades. I grew up on a farm in rural Pennsylvania, the kind of place where nights are so quiet, you can hear the house settle in its own bones. Out back, 30 yards from the porch, stood the well. A relic. Stone walls crumbling, lid sealed with warped planks and rusted iron bands. My grandfather had closed it off long before I was born. Said it was unsafe. Said no one should ever touch it. By the time I was 12, the well was just part of the scenery. Something you didn't question until one summer evening, when the cicadas fell silent and the air turned heavy. I set my bucket down, pressed my ear to the lid. At first, nothing, then faint, muffled, rising from the depths, a whisper. My name, Eli. I ran. Left the bucket. Left everything. And I knew, deep down, it hadn't been the wind. Because the voice hadn't just called a name, it had called my name. For days, I avoided the well. But fear festers. The more you ignore it, the louder it becomes. A week later, just before a storm, it happened again. The cicadas stopped. The air went still. And then Eli, clearer this time, closer. The lid trembled. The iron bands groaned. Something was pressing upward. I told my father. His face went pale. "Stay away from that well," he said. His voice sharp, but his eyes were afraid. That night, I overheard my parents whispering. My mother, he heard it too, just like your father did. My father, we don't talk about it. Not in front of him, not ever. The storm broke. Rain hammered the roof, and beneath the thunder, I heard it again. Not outside. From beneath the floorboards, Eli. The next morning, I found the iron bands bent outward, and in the mud around the well, footprints. Small, bare, like a child's. The footprints circled the well, then vanished. That night, I dreamed of drowning. Black water, a voice whispering my name from the depths. I woke to silence, and then help me. I crept outside, lantern in hand. The lid loomed ahead, warped and swollen. "Who's down there?" I whispered. Silence. Then it's me. The voice was wrong, but it was my voice. The lid shifted. The iron bands groaned. Something scraped against the stone, climbing upward. I ran. That night, my father finally spoke. "It's starting again," he said. He told me the truth, that he'd heard it as a boy. That his father had too, that the well didn't hold water anymore. It held something else, something that knows your name. The next morning, I found wet footprints on the porch, leading straight to the front door. That night, the whisper came again. Not outside, not muffled. Inside, rising through the floorboards beneath my bed. Eli, then, in my father's voice, "Open it." I crept outside. The lid was ajar. The smell of rot spilled out. I raised the lantern, buried inside darkness. Endless. And then my own face stared back at me. Pale. Hollow-eyed. Grinning, the voices rose. Dozens of them, all whispering in unison. "Eli! Eli!" Eli, the lid slammed shut. By morning, the well looked the same as always. Sealed, harmless. But the footprints remained, and scratched into the porch, deep into the wood, was a single word. Soon. I don't go near the well anymore. But sometimes, when the house is quiet, I hear it again, that whisper, rising from the floorboards. And I know one day, the lid won't hold.